What's up, bro? It's your boy, Mike Muse. Welcome to the Conversation of Mike Muse Show. I am so excited to be in conversation with my next guest. I have wanted to be in conversation with him for a while. I finally feel like I got my cool kid card right now, and he was willing to stop by the Mike Muse Show. He is so fascinating to me, and I love fascinating individuals. I think they just make for interesting conversations and interesting subjects, and I feel like this gentleman is an onion, and I feel like there's more layers than meets the eye. And every time I watch something on Instagram, every time I watch his movements, every time I watch him on the TV screen, we were just at a premiere this week for his new show that he has coming up, Fight Night, and I'm just more and more amazed by who this gentleman is. And so I can't wait to go down a little bit of a journey with a man that doesn't need much of an introduction besides Grammy Award-winning David Banner.
Oh, man. Thank you, brother. Well, I'll ask you, man, since you've been able to see some of the stuff, let's go down a path that most people don't go down. And those are the interviews that I'm more interested in. Because similar to one of your rules, y'all don't know this, but he doesn't talk to guests before his interview because he wants to keep it fresh for y'all. And I think that's dope because you want to give your listeners something authentic and not something that has been played out already. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And as an artist, I want to tell people more because I've experienced a lot. And I think that's one way we can give back to the people who consume our products because they've given us their hard-earned money, time, and interest is by helping them to learn more.
Yeah. Well, let's just start. My audience knows I don't write any questions down.
Okay.
Only thing I have in front of me is just your bios. I could make sure Andre sent me the bio to make sure I know certain dates and things. But aside from that, I have no questions. I just want to start out the gate. There was something I saw on your Instagram that stopped me in my tracks this morning, and it was you spoke at the National Society of Black Engineers, and you want to talk about fade or affirmation and being in energy and being in flow. Yeah. I used to serve on the National Board of Directors for the National Society of Black Engineers.
Wow.
I used to plan our national conventions. Wow. And I just got an email. I don't want to give too much, but they were asking me to come back next year for their convention to be a featured speaker. I don't know. I haven't said yet, Nesby, so just FYI. But for you to have you speaking there, and again, that's what I mean by these layers. And what drew me to it is in the caption, the video, you said, I asked the engineers for a first time, who are you engineering for? Mm-hmm. And as an engineer myself, I never asked myself that question. Yeah. And so I'm just curious, what made you think about asking a room of engineers, who are they engineering for?
So the first thing I asked them what I did was I found the most effective definition for engineering first. And I have to say, as a spiritual being, it's the Most High, it's God, because a lot of times I don't know what I'm going to say or what I'm going to do. And it has never failed me. The Most High has never failed me. Sometimes it comes 2 minutes before I step out there. And of course I prepare, but there's something in the energy and you being open to the energy and the spirit. Because a lot of times people pontificate and they get in front of people and they show how smart they are. And that's not effective. Mm-hmm. What do people need the most? Mm-hmm. Especially when I go and speak to children, I usually ask the children, what do you want to hear from me? Because sometimes you can give people a message, and as intellectual and as important as it may end up being, if it does not connect, it's worse than you have not said. It would be worse than you not saying anything at all because they still missed it. And then you made them feel stupid. You feel me? So what I did is right before I walked out there, something said, first of all, define what is it they do? Mm-hmm. And then honestly ask them, what are you engineering and who are you engineering for? And sometimes we don't know our mission statement in life. Sometimes your blessing is right there. And bro, let me tell you why that was so important to me. You can speak, or I use it in basketball references. You can score 50 points in front of the hometown crowd, and that's cool for your ego. But it's different scoring 50 when the NBA scouts are there, or it's the championship game. If you think about engineering in its plain most in its easiest form. What happened to Black people in America? We were engineered, spiritually engineered, socially engineered, physically engineered. A lot of people don't know this. They bred our people like dogs, right? So if we really want to be free, can I curse?
Of course.
We need fucking engineers, not rappers, not entertainers. If there's a problem in the water, we need people who study water. But we want to be free, and we allow the people to speak for us who know the least about it. When I debate on CNN, they don't put Kid Rock in front of me. They don't put white rappers or white singers or any of these people. They put scientists. They put people who theorize and write books. And so it's great that I have the opportunity and I'm intellectual enough to, in a lot of cases, maybe win these battles or put things on people's minds, but I don't even think I'm qualified. So for me to be in that room, you know this, bro. 5 engineers who have the same mission statement together, they can literally change the texture of what's going on with Black people in America. So for me to put something on their mind, I don't know whether I changed somebody's life. I don't know whether it was the thing that maybe can change somebody's life today, but hopefully I could start a thread that maybe can be woven into the blanket that can be placed over our people, that can maybe give some level of freedom, whether it's mentally, spiritually, or physically.
I think you just awoken a narrative, and I think you helped in that room. I wasn't in that room, but as an engineer watching that Instagram, it begins the deprogramming.
Yes.
Because of our curriculum and our training, we're trained on systems, processes, and flow in order to create better products for corporations. We're not really taught how to think about engineering from a social construct or from an anthropological perspective or from a sociology perspective. It really is about widgets, as we call it, right? And it really is about corporations. And you wove something together for me because I am an AI tech policy fellow with Google. And so I come from a position where I'm very pro-tech. And the reason why I'm pro-tech, and I feel like people in our community, particularly Black people, is afraid of artificial intelligence for all the reasons that we should be and have the guardrails. But I don't come from a position of let's create a moratorium on AI, let's stop it. I say, imagine what we can do if we use AI as a tool for good in order to help our culture. If you reimagining credit scores, if you reimagining small businesses, if you reimagining economics, but I've been looking at that from a policy perspective, not from an engineering perspective, right? And the reason why, if you think about the Kwanzaa, the collective agreement, the correct collective economics, right? For me, that's what I was getting out of it, right? If that room of collective minds could come together to engineer things and widgets for advancement of our culture. How powerful that could be.
Can I put a small caveat in there?
Bro,
all right,
it's your interview, your show, baby.
Something that I learned, and we have to be very intentional about our words. There's not going to be a kumbaya moment when we all come together and agree. Bro, it's only going to take a small amount of us, bro.
You use the word 5. Right. So for me, collective, it could be 5, it could be 2. Collective doesn't mean millions.
Because sometimes I think we try and we wait for this moment that'll never come. The best example for me is when the white boys got together and decided that they want to they wanted to write the Constitution, right? From the stories that I heard, they got in there and they fought, they prayed, they cussed each other out, they got drunk, whatever else they did, but they didn't come out that room until they had a plan, right? And so that's what I'm realizing, and that's where I am in my life. I'm ready to move forward. So however many wants to go with us, come on and go. And what I realize is that once we have something that people can see, I think the rest will come then. I really do.
How did you get this agency? Because as an audience is listening and watching, a lot of people have thoughts, possibly, or ideas, but you used the word earlier, intellectualize. A lot of times people feel that they don't have enough information to speak up in a room. They don't have enough information to raise their hand, or they don't have enough degrees to say, I can, I do. What gave you this agency to be able to stand in a room like that?
That's a great question. But before I answer that question, bro, I want to tell you how proud I am of you, bro. And I think we need more people like you, bro. And I think we don't celebrate each other enough, bro. You have the intellect to be able to go in any room, to be able to go in those, rooms where we can have these AI conversations, and then you can come and entertain people. You can come and speak. You can come and interview, and we have to be those chameleons, and to be able to step into all of the. It used to confuse me because I was so talented, bro. I produce at a very high level. I rap at a very high level. I act at a very high level, but it was all pulling me so much that I ended up not really going anywhere and becoming great at any one thing. But then when the world changed, it released all of those chains that I had on me. So if rapping ain't working, then I go act. If acting ain't working, then I go do public speaking. And then it allowed me to move in so many rooms and pull people together, brother. You do the same at a very high level, bro. And this is the first time we ever got an opportunity to really sit down and talk. And I want to tell you how proud I am of you, bro.
Thank you.
And I know it can't be easy because it's not easy for me. Okay.
Yeah.
So to answer your question.
Thank you.
Oh,
I just wanted to just acknowledge that. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I love my audience knows giving people their flowers. And so I'm always thankful when it gets reciprocated. So thank you. Yeah.
All right. So to answer your question, what was Trayvon Martin doing when he was murdered?
Walking down the street.
Walking down the street doing what?
Eating Skittles, I believe.
Exactly. Basically was doing nothing. They murdered him anyway, right? Okay. Whether you agree with Malcolm X or Martin Luther King, what did they do to both of them?
Murdered.
Both of them, right? So when people ask me what gives me the bravery to do the things that I do, it's because they will murder you regardless. Whether you're Christian, whether you're gay, or straight, whatever you think that you are that will give you a special place in this system, know that there is no special place. Big Crit, an artist that's from my state, he told me something so powerful. He said, David Banner, you're 6'2" with alpha male tendencies and traits. And you're smart. He said, you're a revolutionary whether you hold up your black fist or not. The fact that you exist is a threat. And I never thought about it like that. And that's not even adding on the other stuff, right? So that's what gives me the bravery. If you're going to die anyway, you might as well die being a rebel. You know what I'm saying? Or doing what you feel is right.
Audience, you hear me laughing and chuckling a little bit. And David, you see my reaction is because, again, kind of being energy and flow, the last 24 hours, I've been having this conversation, in particular, even at the premiere we were at the other day. And I was telling this young lady about Robert Battle, who is the artistic director of Alvin Ailey. And so I interviewed him. This is years ago. And this interview has stuck with me something cold. And I asked him, I said, do you feel compelled and feel like an obligation to create Black diasporic choreography on stage? He told me no. He said because the mere fact of Black bodies on the stage is a revolutionary act unto itself.
Bars.
And so he said, you don't need to choreograph it. It just is.
Bars.
And it said, therefore, it gives you the freedom to do other things. And that has always stuck with me. So hearing you say, I don't have to stick my fist up in order to be a revolutionary. By mere fact of me just existing.
Jordan Peele said something very, 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 very similar to that. He said, I don't have to make horror movies. All I have to do is tell Black truth.
Yeah.
That's horrible enough. You know, and it's scary because that is the truth. But let me tell you this though. It is such a blessing. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said something to me one time, and it shook my being. He said, you're from Mississippi. He said, if you can put a dent in racism at all, even a minuscule amount of progress, because of how people view your state, you coming up out of that will resonate all around this planet.
Mm-hmm.
And so to be able to say in any way that I can do what I'm supposed to do. But what I'll tell you is my father always taught, because my father is really the prototypical country black man from Brookhaven, Mississippi. My dad said, but you find no reverence in the things that you're supposed to do. Be clear, the stuff that I do, I'm supposed to do as a black man in America. Bill Duke, who's one of the dopest directors on this planet, actors, you know you done fucked up, huh? He taught me that. He's like, man, like, if you find, and I remember T.I. saying this, if you find your love in the cheers, you'll also find your hate or death in the boos. So the real truth is as much as I am grateful for what people say that I do, that's really what I'm supposed to do as a black man in America. Like, I've been blessed, bro. I got to be honest, and I don't think I've ever said this before, bro. I've done some things that no human being on this planet has done. I am the first in some areas to ever do some things, and sometimes I want more credit, but I'm supposed to be dope. You know, I am supposed to do for my community. I am supposed to help where I can help. The thing that I have to do a better job with is doing better to me and for me. I don't do myself well. I'm very hard on myself. I'm very driven. I wrote this poem one time. I said, I chased my dreams so long and so hard that when I finally raised my head, I realized I ran off and left everything else.
Wow.
Like, I'm not married, bro. As good as I look, as stunning as I am to a mirror and to the eyes of the female race. Like, I don't have children. I don't have a wife. And those are things that I've always wanted, man. And I have all these accoutrements. I have all these wonderful awards and things, but it's funny that, you know, the elders used to say it, and it's so real, bro. The most valuable things on this planet, you only get one of, and they're free.
Yeah.
You know?
I look at that as a cost. And so myself, not married, not kids, but it's the cost of my work.
I practice a lot now.
I'm
talking about. What you think about that? Hey, you know what I'm saying? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but it's about the idea. It's that sometimes you're so hyper-focused, right? And you're so, for myself, I'm so hyper-focused and I was so driven to achieve everything I have. And I can unequivocally say, and I'm saying this for the first time, there's always more. You always want more. But David, I am currently living out the wildest dreams I never even dreamed for myself.
Yeah, me too.
I am living in a space that I dreamed of when I moved to New York City. I used to walk certain streets and neighborhoods.
Where you from?
I'm from Michigan originally.
Okay.
And I said, when my stuff is together, I want to live in this neighborhood. And not only I want to live in this neighborhood, but I want outdoor space. I had a checklist and I had that exact lifestyle. But there was a cost that came with that, right? It was a selfishness, right, of having the independence and the freedom to go and come as I please. And to think if I was to bring on children and a partner, I would have to make decisions for the family and the collective. And not saying I wouldn't be where I'm at today, but it was a choice that I made at the time.
Right.
I don't think I'm still in that space. I think in the space I am now, I am open now, but that's because all the majority of my checklists are now checked off.
So I don't know if you had the same problem, and this is for your listeners.
Yeah.
Because now that I know you, your listeners mean a whole lot to me, bro. And I want to leave something with them. And you tell me or you tell them if it was the same for you. What I can say, though, is because what I've realized about the universe and this alchemy that is going on that a lot of us don't understand is that you always have to give something. I don't care what it is. There's always a price. I will say, though, in my studies, it's always better to give it on the front end, is what I'll say. Is, because if you allow the universe or this kismetic type thing to make that decision for you, it's usually a lot heavier than the choice that you would make, right? But what I'll say, man, is that enjoy the road. I didn't, bro. I was so hyper-focused. I had this Jordan, Kobe-like hunger. And then I knew Like, I don't understand. We watch all of these DVDs and we watch all of these stories about these bands, and it's usually the same story. And I never understand why we do the same thing over and over again. So certain things I just didn't do because I was so focused and I wanted that goal. But the thing is that I never enjoyed myself. Like, bro, I was always working. Think about this. And this is the first time I ever said this. And since you're opening up, I'll open up. People didn't understand my 10-year run. When I was popping, people forget I was a very high level producer. I was producing Maroon 5, Chris Brown. I got my first Grammy nod from Lil Wayne on a Carter 3. You know, me and Warren Campbell actually produced Quincy Jones. How many people in my age bracket can say that they produced?
That's crazy.
You know, somebody like that.
Yeah.
I was popping as David Banner. You know what I'm saying? Running off at that time 6-7 movies at the time. You know, an activist. Arguably, they said that I threw the largest urban relief concert in history for Katrina. Wow. So, you know, I am doing all of these things. I got family. You know, they announced to the hood, the poorest state in the United States, that I got the biggest record deal as a single entity in rap history at the time. So you got to think about what was going on with me from a street level, bro. And I'm doing all of these things, bro, and hyper-focused, not having fun, bro, not traveling. I didn't take breaks. So I would go literally from a tour to producing T.I. album, from producing T.I. album to doing This Christmas, the movie, or The Butler. And, bro, it went on for 10 years until I had a physical breakdown. And it's crazy. This happened in real life. People don't know that Lil Wayne's manager at the time, he went to Jackson State, Cortez. And so Jackson is where I'm from. So Cortez was friends with the person that was on my management team. So since I had produced music for the Carter 3, they was like, yo, let Banner go on tour. And so when Cortez called our people to say, hey, bro, do you want to go on a Carter 3 tour? I literally tried to stand up out the chair and couldn't stand up. And I stayed in my house for 7 months and couldn't move, bro. Almost like, you know, I was able to get around, but I literally couldn't get out of the chair. And so what I'm trying to tell your fans is that no matter how driven you are and how much people tell you not to sleep. Yeah. Rest. You know, the same way that you put on your schedule to go to a meeting, put on your schedule to rest and meditate and see your mama.
I am smiling once again because I'm going to send you an article that I wrote, just to show you how much we have clearly different lived experiences, but some shared experiences, I would say.
Hold on 1 second.
Sure.
And Fight Night is out right now.
Yeah, real
Make sure that you go to Fight Night.
Trust me, David. You got to trust me. You've been trusting me this whole time. You've been trusting me this whole time.
It's me, bro.
I see Andre on your side, baby, pushing you.
No. He didn't even give me any signs. Let me tell you about me. Bro, that's part of what happened to my career, is that I love Black people so much that I forgot to put the first thing first. Think about it, bro. I haven't put out no music in how long? I hadn't produced the beat. I was so into making sure that our people were okay that I forgot about me. Yeah. And I wasn't doing my job, bro. Yeah. And so that it had nothing to do with them. I thought about it. Joking. I'll sit here all day, man, and talk about
trust
our
me,
people.
I know it's your first time meeting me, but always the next interview, always trust I got you.
All right, bro,
my eyes always on the prize. So I'm an engineer. Okay. Yeah. There's a method to my madness.
I got you.
There's a method to my madness.
He said, "Let me do my job."
Yeah. You've been trusting me all this point.
I got you.
I will say about the cost and being hyper-focused and the benefit not focused on self, during that period, I also, too, never was present enough in all. You made history. I also, too, I'm in history books for a lot of things, a lot of first. And like you, some things I don't get credit for. I wish I would got more credit, but that's a human condition, right? We always want more, right? And now other people are doing what it is that I said I did back then when it wasn't popping. Yeah. I digress. But I used to listen to this crazy story. I used to take red eyes. I used to fly from LA on that 9 p.m. flight on a Tuesday night to arrive at JFK at 6 a.m., to get to SiriusXM at 8, to do the show to noon, get right back in the Uber, go right back to LAX. I wouldn't even pack a bag. I would do that weekly. And it got to a point in January, I started getting sick. By the first week of February, I was in a hospital for 7 days. And that for me was the wake-up call that something's got to give. Right. And that's when I completely did all kind of lifestyle and wellness adjustments and freed up my schedule and said, I can't keep going. Like at some point you have to say, not about being complacent, but when is enough, right? To settle and to be still and to be patient for the next moment.
And I do think that's where not having that good partner in your life,
that's it.
Good partner
That's it.
though, because I've had people around me that I really thought loved me, and they kept pushing me because I was the way that they were taking the trips. I was the way that they were feeding their families. And what they didn't know was that resting would be the best thing to do, because if you take care of the person who's taking care of you, then they will have more. And if we break down, then we out.
Yeah.
You know? And I until recently, I just had people who worked me like a dog. And what I realized is that they sometimes take advantage of that hyper focus.
Yeah.
You know, there was a basketball player that came on my podcast, and he said something so powerful. He said, man, I stopped playing basketball at the level that I played basketball because they have you so focused bouncing the basketball that you forget about all of the rest of the things that are important in your life, especially right and wrong.
Yeah.
You know.
So is that why you decided to take this role in Fight Night? Because it is about building the Black Mecca, right? Everything we've been talking about has been foundational to the show, right? The building block, building a Mecca, being transformative. Is that what drew you to this project?
No, bro. One thing that you'll learn about me, even to my detriment, I'm going to tell you the truth. Bro, Samuel Jackson, Kevin Hart, Terrence Howard, Taraji. Bro, like, I really feel like this is our opportunity. I've been talking about this a lot lately, man. I think we missed Eddie Murphy. I think Eddie Murphy could have been one of the greatest things in history for Black people in cinema. He made us look so beautiful, man. Think about Boomerang and how stylish and how cutting edge and how dope it was coming to America. I don't think black or white, there's not many things that would even get, maybe Wakanda, you know, that even gets close, and somebody who cared and had the ability and the money and the budget to match the dream, right? And I think on Harlem Nights, we as a race, we let him down. And right after Harlem Nights is when he signed that deal and went and started doing the Disney stuff, you know. And I think if we would have supported him, imagine what could have come out, especially with what he knows now. And I think what Will Packer and Kevin Hart has had an ability to do. And I think sometimes we live in these worlds that are not real. We think that something like this, of this magnitude, is going to come again, and it might not. And until we can put out our own films without having to worry about any race of people, if you take the emotions out, if people are not doing heroin, you're not going to sell heroin. So why would a person continue putting out great quality Black movies and films if we are not consuming them? So, bro, when I saw that I had an opportunity to be a part of history, no, bro, I got to do that. I got to be a part of that. And I honestly, with all of my heart, bro, think that I'm going to become one day soon one of the best actors that ever touched the screen. And I have to get around other people who I respect and who I want to be like. Yeah. There was this scene with Kevin Hart and Taraji. It was almost like they were doing double dutch, and they were going into this zone. And in my head, I was like, fuck that. I'm jumping in this motherfucker. They gotta let me in. I gotta be in. You know, and it pushed me. The other thing is that Samuel L. Jackson, he was my acting coach in my very first film. And he's somebody that I really want to make proud. Because he don't play with rappers trying to be actors. Samuel L. Jackson doesn't deal in ignorance at all from any race of people.
Yeah.
And bro, I wanted to be in, and I have to say, man, initially I was supposed to only do 3 episodes. I'm in 7.
Go off, sir.
I'm in 7, bro. So we did something.
I'm very proud of you.
Thank
Audience, you are not going to be disappointed. I had the chance to see 2 episodes already. I can't wait to episode 3 when you're going to have a moment. Audience, please make sure you tune in to Fight Night, the $1 Million Heist. It is out now on Peacock.
Thank you.
David Banner, I am so excited for your journey as a thespian. Right. Thank you for always showing up and giving your authentic self an incredible, vulnerable conversation. There's something that happened today in this conversation, and I thank you for that.
Thank you.
I love you, brother. Until next time, you got to come back, man. More to unpack. I knew you were an onion. I knew it. I knew he was an onion. I called it. Hold
on, what movie was that? That was Shrek.
Yeah.
Yeah, onions and parfait.
Yeah.
And in the morning, we having waffles.
Until next time, folks. Peace.